Department of Rehabilitation, paratransit, different types of services for the families through this process. And so far what we do is on Tuesday mornings, we have a meeting, we talk about a specific student, a specific case, and we have kind of a couple of days to work on that, and then Thursday afternoon we come back together to see what's happened. Did parents sign the form? Did we get phone calls back? Where are we at? And then we keep track of how things are going for that particular student. This also kind of feeds into our SSP as well. A little bit about our positive reinforcement. So one of the parts of the MTSS goal is that we reward more than 50% of our students. And so I kind of want to talk a little bit about this. So last year, this is broken down by different quarters. So in quarter one, we were able to reward a minimum of 68% of our students with Kona Ice for having 0 discipline entries or less than 3 tardies. In quarter two, we focused on the maximum learn and our GPAs with students. So if they maintained a certain GPA or they improved it, then we rewarded that. So that's 77% of our students. The same thing for love. That was if students were engaged on campus in some way, part of an athletic team, a club, a group, something, and we were able to reward 54% of our students there. Now the legacy quarter, that's only for seniors. So we focus that on them. So if they've been in the other 3 quarters and they've been nominated, then we were able to reward 50 of those seniors, and they all got little trophies. Some of the other incentives that we do, we also do a gaucho of the week. We do an LCAP lunch bunch. So those are for the kids that kind of have been struggling behaviorally, and we set specific goals for them to achieve. And when they do achieve those goals, then we reward them and a couple of their friends with taking them out to lunch. Mr. News likes to take the kids to lunch, and then he brings me the bill back, and I say, oh my gosh. We also do attendance Starbucks, so we're encouraging our attendance for students. So what we do is we identify students that have met a certain criteria, and it's kind of a random draw, and we provide gifts to them, or not gifts, excuse me, we provide incentives and different types of things for students for attendance. I know I see hands over there. And then we also have the option with our Minga app, which we do an early release. And so this one is absolutely free, Dr. Weimer. And what we do is we, anytime a student is awarded this, we get to press a little button on Minga, and we can set an early release for them for lunch. Kids love being able to get out 5 minutes early to go be in the front of the line and get whatever they want for lunch. That's the picture of the little gauchos that the students get for the Legacy Award. So they're like little mini gauchos. We also do a fall and spring reward, and in the fall last year we recognized over 1,000 students, and we did the same in the spring for different categories. Not just grades, but perfect attendance, reclassification, and then also CTE pathway completion, things like that. Our total recognition for last year was over 6,000 recognitions or rewards throughout the year. And this year, so far to date, we've done a little over 2,000. So we're really excited. We really love to reward kids for doing great things. And you can see that we're kind of hitting lots of different pieces for students and doing great things here at El Capitan. And that is my MTSS presentation.
Thank you very much. I have to tell you something funny. Well, your dad, Mr. Coates, was my vice principal at Hoover. And Mr. Nunes, I remember Mr. Coates taking us off campus to lunch. It was a major highlight. I can only imagine the attention and excitement and how much, love and enthusiasm you pour into these kids. And they will remember it 40 years later, right? Anyway, yes, thank you. We will now open up the general public comment period. The meeting is recorded. Individuals addressing the board are asked to fill out a speaker card located in the back of the room, complete a blue card to speak to an item not on the agenda, and a yellow card to speak to an item on the agenda. Please return the card to Administrative Secretary Mrs. Warlock. Individuals addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes each with no more than 20 minutes per topic. During this portion of the agenda, the public is invited to comment on items which are not on the agenda but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Board of Trustees. The board will take no action at this time but may refer the issue for further consideration. Individuals who wish to comment on agenda items shall be provided an opportunity to comment after the staff report and before the board's consideration of that item. Individuals who cannot wait to address the board when the agenda item is addressed may make their comments at this time. Mr. Rick Wendling, I believe you have a comment.
Good afternoon, board. Thank you. Good afternoon, board. Good to see you again. It's quite some time. A quick aside. I want to stop fentanyl coming into this country, close the southern border. Too bad our friend Nicole had to go back to work protecting us. Anyway, while I appreciate the board's willingness to comply with applicable law and the education code, I'm here again to urge you both as the board and individuals to push back against both the MCOE and the legislature about the necessity, of state administration of sex ed. I understand how lobbying affects legislation. Lobbyists are most often paid by exponents of certain agendas. In my opinion, the sex lobby is pushing an agenda which is designed to further split society into two opposing groups, those promoting gender dysphoria and those opposed to body mutilation of children, those defending the Judeo-Christian code of morality, and those advocating for an administrative state based on Marxist-Leninist ideology. Here's my point. Current California law makes it difficult for parents, those who are caring and concerned, to know what their children are doing in school. We, you as individuals and I, must push for child safety, which includes the parents. I don't see that in your leaders section. We must not allow for our children to confide sexual problems with school officials without parent participation. Governor Newsom signed AB 6665, too many sixes, 665 into law yesterday. Reading some opinion of the contents of that bill, one would celebrate the new law unless one knew that provisions preclude parental involvement. Children have limited privacy or privacy rights in school, and they don't include hiding from parental knowledge and involvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wendling. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment? Now we will move on to the reports and discussion section of the agenda. Mrs. Ballinger, student parties and cell phone policy.
At the end of last school year, tardies and cell phone disruptions emerged as two of the main concerns listed by site staff. Tonight, we have Principal Cope here to discuss El Capitan's approach to the tardy problem, and Principal Swartwood here to discuss Golden Valley's cell phone policy.
All right, so last year for tardies, El Capitan, or not last year, I'm sorry, 2 years ago, let's talk 2 years ago, in 21-22, there were over 32,000 tardies at El Capitan High School. And so when the administration came in after that summer, there were several new administrators, and so we decided, we need to do something about this. This isn't gonna work. And so, just as a comparison, last year we had just over 11,000 tardies. So that's a huge accomplishment. I'm really proud of the work that our administrative team has done, the work that our classified team has done, because truly, we could not have done this without several people. So, kind of where our thought process went was, we needed to figure out a tardy plan. So we needed a solid policy. We needed the people who could follow the policy and do it the way that it's intended to be done. Set high expectations with students, especially because if you guys remember last year when the school opened, everything was blocked off because of the brick project. And so students that were in this class had to go all the way around, downstairs, back upstairs to come around. So we were like, wow, this is going to be a pretty big obstacle to tackle. We also wanted to make sure that we held individuals accountable. I'm very big on that. And then also we talk a lot about soft skills, and time management is one of those soft skills that our students really need to learn and understand how to manage. So we have a very, very strong policy. In fact, we even had some staff members say, wow, this seems really harsh. They're like, how many tardies does it take to get to step 2? And we were like, 2. It takes 2 tardies to get to step 2. And they were like, no way, that's too harsh. You need to cut them some slack. And we said, no, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to set high expectations, and we're going to hold them accountable. So we have a very strict policy here, and we've built a lot of opportunities for students to learn some skills within our policy. Our personnel, some key players. Miss Sylvia Escamilla, I have to say, she is incredible. I worked with her over at Golden Valley as a student support secretary over there, and she came over to El Capitan, and she's phenomenal. She is truly like the tardy queen. She knows the ins and outs. Her spreadsheets are amazing. She knows exactly what tardy every student is on, and she holds them accountable. We've got Adrian Hurtado, who is our intervention center, and then we've got Robert Nunes and Brandon Sanchez, our associate principals, who also are working really hard on the tardies, making sure that phone calls are made. All of our liaisons help out, our teachers help out, and our counselors help out. This tardy policy could not happen with all of these people, because if the teachers aren't taking attendance correctly, it falls apart. If the APs aren't communicating with parents, it falls apart. If Miss Sylvia messes up the spreadsheet, it falls apart. So it takes every single one of us. With the high expectations, we laid it out in our agenda chats earlier in the year that each step is a tardy. And kids made it to step 3 pretty quick. And then when they realized, oh my gosh, I already have a lunch detention, I've only been tardy 3 times, we said yes. And if you don't serve it, you have double lunch detention. And so they learned very quickly that we were not kidding with our policy. But don't worry, we also gave them lots of positive reinforcement when they met their goals and they did the things that they needed to do. With the accountability piece, we made sure that every single time a student was tardy and the tardy was entered into ARIES, the parent received contact. We use Parent Square for the first couple, we use phone calls from our intervention coordinator, and we use phone calls from our administrators. And so the phone calls are really what makes the difference, because when we call and say, hey, the next time your kid's tardy, they're going to have a lunch detention, the parents will then send a text or call their child or say, is my child sitting there? Let me talk to them. And the parent contact definitely helps that. The soft skills, like I talked about, it's time management, and we've been doing a lot of discussion about soft skills. And these are the top 11 soft skills that employers, that colleges are looking for. And so we've been talking a lot about this, and time management is one of those. And if our students don't understand when to start moving to make it to class on time, they're not being reinforced with those soft skills and the time management, when they need to get places, when they need to be there, how much time they have, things like that. And so we really focus on those as well. That's target policy. Mr. Swartwood? Okay. Any questions?
If the student has moved, and they were running late, is it better that we say, you know what, I'm not gonna go in all together and be absent, or how would that be addressed? It still comes under the tardy policy.
It does. I would prefer that the students still go to class.
Yeah.
Right, because we only offer the one class of academic decathlon during 0 period, and that's very important. And so I would rather that the student show up late to class than not at all. Yep.
And are the positive reinforcements some of the other items you were sharing in MTSS?
Yes, so like, for example, when I talked about that quarter one, because we hit the tardy so hard at the beginning of the year, one of the criteria we set for that is 0 discipline and less than 3 tardies. So kids can have technically up to 2 tardies, because it's a whole quarter, we understand, but we give them a little bit of wiggle room, but as long as they haven't hit that 3rd tardy yet, then they're rewarded with whatever it is we choose for the first quarter.
Is there also something about athletics where if you're tardy on the day of the game, you don't get to play?
Part of that is up to the coaches a little bit, but they can become ineligible at a certain point in our tardy policy. So it is at step 8. So if the student hits their 8th tardy, they actually become ineligible. And so we work with our coaches, they're aware of this policy, they make sure to tell their students, hey, you need to get there on time. And oftentimes, Mr. Nunes or Mr. Sanchez might even contact the coach and say, hey, your starting quarterback is on their 7th tardy. If the next time they're late, they become ineligible. And so there's still those conversations that are happening, so we also get the support from the coaches to say, you need to be there. And we also say, well, you make it to practice on time, don't you? So let's make it to class on time.
I appreciate the comments on soft skills too, and I go beyond college and where I think a lot of our students are going to go directly into the workforce. It's a priority. I think I just keep thinking back to a comment with a student at Yosemite who was so upset that he couldn't miss more than 20 days, and that was unacceptable in his viewpoint, right? But if you miss 20 days in the workplace, you're not going to have a job. And if you show up 3 times late in a quarter, you might not also have a job, right? So those are important things for students to learn, and I appreciate you holding students accountable and setting that expectation for them. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kevin Swartwood, principal at Golden Valley High School. I'd like to talk about our cell phone policy. So, there you go. So, this is similar to the presentation I provided to our teachers in August and to parents in August. Last spring, we went through a WASP accreditation process. And one of the findings that came back for us to work on was we'd like to see more students engaged in the lessons. And when we asked them to get specific, we heard from them, and we sure see a lot of cell phones. And that wasn't just from the WASP committee, it was also teachers' observations too. So the idea is, how can we get more of that top stuff, right? Those kids being engaged in the lesson, and less of that with their heads buried in their phone. So that was kind of the start of the process. So how did we start? We used Dr. Weimer's spectrum here, so of a 1, 2, 3. We went to our teachers in the spring of last year and said, and we got the posters out, the sticky notes out, where would you fall on this spectrum? You can't be on the fence, you can't say 1.5. Is it 1, 2, or 3, right? So we had one teacher put the sticky note on 1. We had quite a few put them on 2, and then majority of our teachers put the sticky note on 3, which was, it was eye-opening, it was telling to me that they also want to do something different in the classroom. So that's kind of where we started last spring. We went ahead and said, okay, based on that, we had a teacher-only meeting. There's admin, you're going to step out of the room, you guys talk this out. Do you really want to go to a cell phone policy where there are no cell phones allowed in the classroom? Because that's going to be a big lift, and we're going to have to make sure we're totally organized and on the same page. Solidarity is our friend. If we're divided, we will fall. So, okay, most of you want to go with number 3. Cell phones, electronic devices are distractions and should not be used in the classroom. So we had I sent out a final Google form, and the question is right there, right above the spectrum, based on the results of our last meeting. When Mr. Puss ran that meeting, as a matter of fact, he came back in, only 1 teacher is against it. Well, we sent out the form one more time, just to make sure. 82% of our teachers said we want number 3. 82% said we want a no cell phone policy in the classroom. So based upon that, we went ahead and had one more meeting in the spring. We said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go with the bell-to-bell no cell policy And the policy is stated on the right in the black print. All classrooms and office spaces, because it has to be every area inside, are no phone zones. Teachers can decide in their lesson to have cell phones being used if it's used for an academic purpose, and we'll talk about what that is. This is the same slide we use with the students and the parents. So the why is important. Because you can only imagine students thought this was stupid. Because they would tell you they can multitask and do it all. They can listen to instruction, they can be in their group, they can work on their project as their head's in their cell phone. They will tell you that. We tell them, well, it's not just my opinion that you can't do that, it's also research opinion that you can't do that. And be successful. So, based on the why, and all the teachers' recommendations and solidarity, we went ahead and went to this. So what exactly is the policy? I know it's kind of small print, but we have an 8-step lined up. The first two are exactly the same. If a teacher says, take your phone to IC, and that's as simple as it is, take your phone to IC, because you've already gotten a warning, take your phone to IC, you have it out. They just go to their Minga app and they put on a little pass to IC so the liaisons on campus know the students on their way to IC. That Minga notification also notifies parents, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So they're on the way to IC, they get there, they turn their phone in for the rest of the day. We have a process for that to make sure we don't mess up on that, but they turn their phone in for the rest of the day. At the end of the day, they can pick it up. Second violation, same thing. Turn their cell phone in for the rest of the day. At the end of the day, student can pick it up. Step 3, 4, and all the way to 8 are all going to say pretty much the same thing, and that is, if you get sent to IC because of a cell phone violation, you turn your cell phone in for the rest of the day, and a parent has to pick it up. And we have very few students getting to step 3. We'll talk about how many violations up to the day in just a minute here. So that's the policy. All the students have been taken through this policy. Parents have seen this policy. We've had a separate parent meeting to take them through the policy. And then we've also said, okay, let's come up with some questions that our parents are going to ask and make sure we have an answer for them. So the first question I know parents are going to say is, hey, when can I expect my child to respond to a text that I sent them or a phone call that I called them? So the idea of no cell phones in the classroom is just that. It's that 48-minute period in the classroom. All other times of the day, they can have their phone out. Before school, breaks, lunch, after school, you can have your phone out and be using it. So every 48 minutes, they can respond to a text or a phone call from the parent. I sent a text to my child. The phone was previously confiscated. I had no idea my child was without a phone. I waited 48 minutes, never got a response. So to the parents, we say, when we do have a cell phone violation, you will be notified right away. They get a text and an email right away via the Minga app. So they know. The student also knows, of course, because they're sent to IC. So parents will know that my son or daughter no longer has a phone for the rest of the day. And if it's whatever step they're on, they can either pick it up or a parent has to pick it up. What if there's an emergency? I need to reach my child. Call the school's main number. We'll have your child out within 60 seconds. There was a time we had no cell phone. We managed to do just fine, right? So, but a lot of our parent base didn't live in that era. A lot of our parent base lived in the cell phone era. So they don't know that there was a time we didn't. And we can do it. I'm older, so I can tell them, yeah, we can do it. So what does academic purposes mean? So what we tell students is when it's teacher directed, not student selected, that's an academic purpose. Let me give some examples on that. Non-academic purposes. Responding to a text, taking a phone call, whether you inside or outside of the classroom, which we have seen before. Checking on your social media, that type of thing. Those are all non-academic purposes and they're not allowed. So that was my last slide, but just to give you an up-to-date number. As of today, so from the first day of school until today, we have had 499 cell phone violations. And that sounds like a lot, right? So the average is like 12 a day. We average about 12 a day. There are some days we'll see 18 violations, but we average about 12 a day. And if you think about that, with a school of about 1,950 kids, that's actually not bad. Only 40 students in our entire school have a violation at 3 or higher. So only 40 parent pickups so far. What that tells me is they don't want their parent anywhere near their phone, right? I'll get a first violation, I'll pick it up after school. I'll get a second, I'll pick it up after school. After that, I'm gonna leave it in my pocket for most of our students. But there are a few that just can't help themselves, right? And they get that violation and the parents gotta pick it up. But for the most part, the policy's working. If you ask our teachers, and I'm sure Mr. Puss could offer his opinion, every one of our teachers tell us it's working. And I tell you exactly why it's working. Our teachers are all on the same page and they're all doing it together. It only takes one of us, and I've told them this, it only takes one teacher to say, I'm not going to do it, and then the whole thing starts to crumble. So it is October. People start to get tired. So we can continue to remind, hey, this is a great policy if we keep it up. I don't have empirical data to prove this, but when I ran DNF notices at that midpoint, at that 5-week point, we had 60 less students on the list for D's or F's from this time last year. Now, is that because they're more engaged in the class without their cell phones? I hope so. I can't tell you for sure, but I think that's that's part of it. So, any questions for me?
So I have a question, not just for all the principals out there. So Golden Valley had 82% of the teachers broken down the group. Would, if every school would have that same survey, would all the teachers vote the same, or would it vary, like, between school sites? I'm curious.
I'd have to ask my colleagues over there, so I don't know.
I don't think that all schools would probably be at 80%, but I know that Golden Valley had success early on with the last time when they started the no phone zone. And so, under the direction of Mr. Swartwood, they've done really well with that. I know that for El Capitan being more of like a technology, they came over here with the one-to-one mentality. I don't know that I'd have that same percentage, but I think that we're probably getting closer to that direction.
MUHSD was at about 60% when we ran it last year, so we're not quite where we're about.
Livingston's not that high either for the same reason people said they'd like to have the option, but we did implement the stoplight system and these on red, so they're not limited to.
I just really appreciate Golden Valley doing this, stepping up, experimenting, the leadership and the support, and it's, I think, very courageous and brave that the site is doing that. Because I know students, like you said, they're not fans, and a lot of parents have a lot of reasons why they don't think it's a good idea too. But at the end of the day, I think you're right, the data says cell phones are a distraction to students and also not good for their mental health, right? They're not connecting with one another even outside the classroom with the cell phone as a crutch. So I just really want to thank everyone at Golden Valley for pioneering and championing this in our district.
Thank you.
A question on, I'm trying to flip the slide, but it says all classrooms and office spaces are no phone zones. Does that include staff then?
That includes the staff. Great question. So what I told our staff was, hey, when your phone buzzes, don't resist the temptation of pulling it out. We're in classrooms a lot as administrators, and our phone will buzz all the time, or my watch will buzz. I'll mess up my watch, but I can't pull my phone. If we do it, then it becomes okay. Between classes, all my staff in the offices, when the bell rings, check your phone. Not that 48-minute period. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swartwood. Mr. Nicholson to speak about Southern College recruiting trip.
Good evening, trustees, cabinet, and community. I'm here to share tonight about our recent recruiting trip to Mississippi and Alabama. Our goal in the Human Resources Department is matches up with our LCAP to recruit and retain staff who are credentialed appropriately and can contribute to the overall success of our students academically and social emotionally. And so we embarked on a trip through Mississippi and Alabama last week to recruit students at 5 different universities. So Mr. Peterson, myself, Director Johnson, and Dr. Austin, who I don't believe is here tonight, traveled out there. And as we traveled around these universities, kind of 2 outcomes or goals became apparent to us. That yes, we need to recruit potential teacher candidates, but also build relationships and partnerships with universities so that we can have a pipeline or further access to students in the future. So our first visit was at the University of Mississippi in Oxford, Mississippi, also known as Ole Miss. Mr. Peterson and I met with Dr. Rock. He's the Dean of the School of Education. And he's invited us to become partners in this National Center for School and University Partnerships, where they tackle problems of practice in schools. So one problem of practice that a lot of schools are having is recruiting and retaining teachers. So we want to be a part of finding solutions for that for not only us, but for districts around the country. We also had the opportunity to meet with a few students while we were there. Extremely impressive. The students I'm talking with there are undergraduates. They are in the field working with teachers as part of their undergraduate program. And they were sitting in the lobby of the education building talking about lesson planning, building rapport with students. They knew the standards. They knew the curriculum. They knew their master teachers didn't know the standards. So they were on it, and it was really fun to spend time with them and talk to them. Our next stop was at Mississippi Valley State in Ida Bena, Mississippi. There we met with Dr. Dumas, and we also provided 2 informational sessions to 2 different groups of students. The first group was undergraduates, so students who hadn't exactly decided what they want to do post-degree yet. And then what we really enjoyed was meeting with their graduate students who, again, are in the field doing their student teaching. I've never been around a more genuine and prepared group of teacher candidates than I was in that room there that day. When we asked them, why did they want to be a teacher, it wasn't about, having summers off or getting out at 3 o'clock. It was because they wanted to improve communities and improve outcomes for students. And so I was really impressed there. Our next stop was at Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. There we met with Dr. Haynes, again, the Dean of the School of Education there, and she was a dynamic leader. So her whole goal as the Dean of the College of Education was to remove barriers for people to become teachers. So they've got online opportunities. They do internships. They build partnerships with their local districts. And one of the big ideas we really got from her was the Grow Your Own initiative. So they've identified a problem. They don't have enough mathematics teachers in their area. I know it does. So what they've done is partner with their local school district, and they have juniors and seniors dually enrolled at Jackson State from the high school, and they will complete their bachelor degree 2 years out of high school, and with a teaching credential. And it will all be paid for between the university and the high school and the school district. And they will commit, and if they complete that program, those math teachers will then come back and work for the district for 3 to 5 years. And so I think that was a huge takeaway for me, and I think our team. Dr. Haynes from Jackson State University has also reached out back to us and wants to formalize a partnership with our district to possibly have some of our students take classes through their online program, have her send us interns from their program to come work out here, are a couple of possibilities. We also visited Mississippi State University in Starkville, Mississippi. There we did tabling. We also provided an informational session. So I'm there talking to Tobias. He's a graduate mathematics student who kind of had desires of becoming a mathematics professor at the university level, but was highly interested in maybe he liked younger kids and working in the high school. So we're hoping to touch base with him again. And our last stop was at Alabama A&M, Huntsville, Alabama, where Mr. Peterson and Mr. Johnson participated in a career fair. And there's Mr. Johnson talking to Mr. Dylan Swanson. So Dylan reached out today. He's a kinesiology major, wants to be a PE teacher. He plays football out there and wants to be a football coach. So we're going to be setting up a time to chat with him and explore options with him. Next steps. So we want to continue to grow our relationships with those university leaders there and here. So we want to reach out, obviously, to Stanislaus State, UC Merced, Chico State, and Fresno State. We want to nurture that recruitment of potential teachers. So, recruiting's a lot more. One of the things I learned this last week was recruiting is a lot more than just showing up and handing people a flyer. Right? You've got to make that connection. You've got to remove barriers for them, especially if they're going to move right all the way across the country. And again, for me, right, we know that there's not enough people in our credential programs as it is. And then how effective are all those people? And so I really like this idea of being able to grow your own and build partnerships with our local universities. Mr. Johnson?
I'll talk more in my report later on. I will just say that we were all blown away by the acceptance and willingness to partner with us. I don't think we expected that sort of welcome, and just really appreciated those open arms, and we will continue to expand those relationships. Another piece, I think we learned that tabling is one thing, meeting with the dean and having that relationship is the most important piece, and that's what we need to pick up around here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll move on to Employee Association comment period. Mr. Pest, would you like to speak?
Good evening, President Ham, board members, Superintendent Peterson, and cabinet, and the most important person is board. I want to start by saying the cell phone policy at Golden Valley is night and day starting the year. Last year, it was a relationship destroyer trying to keep these cell phones out of the hands of students during class. This year, there's 0 arguments, and it is because of fidelity, not just from administration, it's because fidelity, it is being done to fidelity with the entire staff. And I've not met a single person who feels that it's not doing a good job. That includes those people that were, hey, you know what, I'm not on board with this. They bought in, and they see a huge difference also. So, I just wanted to say that. Tonight, I will be brief and sincere. Too often we believe that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. And I want to thank you all for making that proverb very difficult for the members of the Merced Union High School District Teachers Association to believe in as it relates to another district in our city. In particular, I want to thank President Ham for speaking at the Merced City School Board meeting. While your options that you provided that district mostly fell on 6 deaf ears, I believe your presence and comments were hugely impactful. So thank you for that. Now, in closing, I hope when election comes around, we can count on all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there someone from CSEA here tonight? Okay, then we will move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Board President Ham, Mr. Coleman will move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Are there any questions? Okay. Then we will call for the vote, and trustee Jayasinga, would you please acknowledge our dissent?
All right, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I'd like to thank all the generous donors for their donations for the month of October. For Atwater High School, we have a donation from Roger and Chichi Wood for the FFA Club. Scott and Pam Durham towards the Amanda Garcia Scholarship. Atwater High School Alumni Association for the 2023 Legacy Scholarship. Glenn and Cheryl Arnold, and it's for the Glenn Arnold Scholarship. Stanislaus Community Foundation for the Kayla Bernardi B Positive Foundation Scholarship. Susan Quinn towards girls volleyball, and Karen Cassini towards the Cassini Scholarships. Moving on to Livingston High School, and this is to be used towards leadership. Donation from Prestige Massage and Skincare, Elia Del Toro. And the next three are towards aquatics, A.B. Thomas Produce, Benton Court Yard Care, Livingston Lions Club. And on to Merced High, Cindy Ramirez towards the Eddie Guerrero Scholarship, Stanislaus Community Foundation towards Kayla Bernardi B Positive Foundation Scholarship, Tim and Genevieve Garcia towards the Eddie Guerrero Scholarship. Thank you to everyone's generosity. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ms. Rohrback, can you record me as an aye on that? I'm not. Thank you.
That passes 5-0. Sorry, we're having a few technical difficulties up here. So at this point in time, we will move on to the action agenda. The first is a revision to board policy 5141.4, child abuse prevention and reporting. And we do have a couple of speakers. Yes, the speakers will go first. No. I'm sorry, okay, thank you. Got it. All right, Mr. Nicholson, take it away.
All right. Tonight, we bring revisions to Board Policy 5141.4, Child Abuse Prevention and Reporting for your consideration. Our current board policy does not reflect any changes that went into effect after 2006. AB 1432 became effective January 1, 2015, and requires all local educational agencies to provide annual training to their employees who are mandated reporters. We must also develop a process for mandated reporters to provide proof of completing the training within the first 6 weeks of the school year or within the first 6 weeks of the person's employment. So those are the two big things. It's the training and then the tracking of the training. And this is all conducted by our risk management office. So the superintendent brings before the Board of Trustees revisions to Board Policy 5141.4, Child Abuse Prevention and Reporting for a first reading, with possibility of adoption, thereby waiving the second reading.
Thank you. Mr. Wendling?
Thank you. Thank you. Board, thank you again. Having read the new policy, it occurred to me a couple of things, a few things, three things actually. I don't think the board policy defines abuse or sexual abuse properly. Number two, I don't see any parental participation after the beginning of the school year, and certainly not if a situation of alleged sexual abuse or assault, etc. occurs. And I'm not pleased with the reporting requirements that should be stating to whom such reports shall be made. Parents first, then law enforcement. There are a couple of those things that I think we could improve upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Johnson?
My name is Gene Johnson, from Atwater High, from Atwater. I graduated from Atwater High. My daughter and my son graduated from UHAC, and got some grandchildren that just started, elementary school. The thing I'm worried about is, and Rick alluded to it, is taking parents out of the decision making. I just don't understand it. One of the greatest things in life is when you have your child and you become a parent, and you want to take care of that child, even past 18 years old. You want to take care of them until they're 30, 40, 50 years old, whatever it is. But when they have a problem, they may feel that they cannot go in front of their parents and deal with them. So they may go to a school administrator, what have you, counselor, and ask them for help, which is great, and I understand it. But you cannot, as a administrator or counselor, keep that information from the parents. And that's one of the things I worry about this student abuse policy. There needs to be reporting to the parents right off the bat. You cannot take the parents, because what's going to happen is later in life, if something goes wrong, that child is going to go to that parent and say, why didn't you help me out? Why didn't you stick with me even though I was wrong in my decision making as a child, as a teenager, whatever it is. So I'm asking you, please, to do the right thing when it comes to voting on anything that comes out of Sacramento. And then writing policies where it protects children and parents. Because the parents, we come to you and we are asking you to take our kids for 6 to 8 hours, whatever it is, and take care of them. But do not take it away from them, please.
You can continue. You actually have another minute. We didn't get restarted after Mr. Wendling.
Thank you. Anyway, this gender identity law, schools should be 100% focused on teaching, reading, and writing math. That's what they should be doing. Teaching the kids so they can get to college and become something, or go out to the workforce, go in the military, whatever it is. There's not the responsibility of raising children. It's not the job of schools to take away parents' rights and keep life-altering decisions from parents about their own children. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and I know you guys all know this, but I'm begging, please, don't take it away from the parents. Don't take it away from my daughter to raise that child back there, my grandson. All right? Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Can I ask a question, Mr. Nicholson? This is the CSBA recommended policy, correct?
Yes, this is the CSBA recommended policy, and this is really about mandated reporting, right? That our employees, if they suspect any kind of neglect or abuse, that they can take the mandated reporter procedure.
And then despite the policy being outdated, we still are compliant with mandated reporter
We are.
training.
We are. So we are doing the training and tracking the training. We just needed to ensure that our policy aligns with the training and the tracking, which we are in compliance.
Ms. Nichols, another question, under the child abuse prevention, part, it says programming may provide age-appropriate and culturally sensitive child abuse prevention curriculum. What does that mean?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, it says may, so we can decide to do those things. I'm not positive as to what is being implemented in the classroom regarding that. That's what you're asking.
I was just curious what culturally sensitive child abuse prevention means.
I think it includes
Curriculum.
human trafficking, which is part of our curriculum.
Okay. Human trafficking, which is part of our system.
This is CSBA model language, and you are free, as are we, to change the language however you're comfortable with. If you want it to have different wording, we can make that happen.
Where, so it says may, but where are we gonna get that guidance from? In regards to the question from the board member.
Regarding curriculum,
Yes, it's saying age-appropriate and culturally sensitive child abuse prevention curriculum. Where would we get that from?
well, where do we have our current curriculum?
Well, I don't know what the curriculum is, but I do know that we are required, right, to provide education on human trafficking. We do that in our 9th grade social studies class. And we have people that have come in and taught us how to do that. We've had lots of presentations from various community members. The DA's office, I think, was part of that.
The curriculum would be an approved curriculum that the district adopts.
Okay, but why is it cultural? I guess that's where the question is.
So I think back to Mr. Pearson's point that so we were taking this language from CSBA. So if there's some changes that we need to change based off this first reading, we can. But I don't have an answer to the cultural piece of that.
But aside from,
All right, aside from making a change, we could have the questions answered and approve at a second reading. I mean, if there were questions about it, but as you said, it's the CSBA recommended language.
Or we could table this and bring it back next month with some language changes and possible adoption of that.
I'm fine with the language, but I know there's questions about what that means.
I just think it needs maybe a little bit more, it needs to be a little bit more clear, but I mean, I don't understand in that sentence where human trafficking comes in.
Okay, is there any other concern other than that sentence?
And can I just say that sentence was in the old policy also.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at your exhibit there, whatever we call the attachment, the original one has it crossed out and it has that same language. So that's the language that's been in our policy.
Would people feel better if it read, the district's instructional program may provide age-appropriate child abuse prevention curriculum, take out culturally sensitive? Is that what the objection is?
You know, actually, I don't have an objection. I'm just interested to know what that means because, I mean, I know a lot about human trafficking and, I support making sure that doesn't happen. It's just a culturally sensitive part. Just a question.
Could we get clarification on that and then adopt at the next meeting? Because child abuse is not okay. There would not be reason, for culturally sensitive.
Use is abuse.
Right.
Okay, so you would like different language for that sentence? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm not opposed. I'm fine with the language personally. I'm just wondering, is the question just clarification over what it means, not necessarily a change?
Okay,
Correct.
all right, understood.
Okay, so is there any motion to approve? And if so, also consider whether to waive the second reading or not.
Amalia, are you okay with voting on it tonight without further clarification? Then I would make a motion to approve and waive the second reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any further questions? If not, then call for the vote.
And we will follow up and get that clarified for you.
I'm an aye. I guess it's not. Oh, here we go. Thank you. And that passes 5-0. We will move on to board policy around search and seizure. Mrs. Johnston?
Good evening. Tonight I bring before you revisions to Board Policy 5145.12, search and seizure. Essentially, our last update to this policy was in 2009. This is a CSBA model policy, and the changes are that no staff will conduct a search who have not been trained, and it encompasses, the new language encompasses the search of phones only when there's an emergency involving danger of death or serious injury. The superintendent brings before the Board of Trustees revisions to Board Policy 5145.12, search and seizure, for a first reading with possibility of adoption, thereby waiving the second reading.
Is there a motion to approve?
Oh, there we go. I'll move to approve board policy 5145.12 with second reading.
And a second? I second that motion. Any further questions? Call for the vote. And that passes unanimously as well. Melissa Miller, I believe you have several things to share with us.
Good evening. I'll try not to be too repetitive. And just a little background. These two audits that you're seeing on 14.03 and 14.04 are for our measure and bond audit regarding that that's overseen by our Citizens Oversight Committee. On August 15th, the Citizens Oversight Committee met in 2023 to approve the 2021 and 2022 audit reports. Part of the reason why these are delayed was number one, audit reporting was delayed, they were backlogged, auditing firms were backlogged from, obviously due to COVID restrictions, and did not have the capability to complete those measures on time. The second reason is, our Citizens Oversight Committee was also delayed due to COVID. We were unable to hold some of our meetings during COVID, and we finally were able to gather enough board participants to approve these audits. So I'll briefly read the 2021 audit. Each school district governing board shall review at public meeting the annual general obligation bonds audit report for the prior year, audit exceptions identified in the audit, the recommendations or findings of any management letter issued by the auditor, and any descriptions of corrections or plans to correct any exceptions or management letter issues. Merced Union High School District's annual general bond obligation bonds audit report for Measure M ending June 30th, 2021 was completed by the firm E.D. Bailey LLP. The superintendent recommends the board of trustees accept the annual general obligation bonds audit report ending June 30th, 2021 for Measure M.
Is there a motion to approve? So moved.
And a second?
Second that.
Any further questions?
Call for the vote.
And that passes unanimously. Okay, so, right, to do 1404. Yes, if we could please go ahead and approve, the audit report ending June 30th, 2022 for Measure M.
Is there a motion to approve? So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further questions?
Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. And that's a 5-0 vote.
Thank you. 14.05, architectural and engineering fees are based on percentage of the cost of construction and adjusted during bid. Construction administration is to be determined based on actual construction costs of the project. The initial fees were based on a cost estimate of $5,002,926.50. The project then bid at $9,100,000. Rather than basing the billing on the actual cost, the A&E fees have been adjusted to be based on the construction cost at $8 million. The amended architectural and engineering services fee for this project is based on 9% of the actual construction cost. Total additional fees of $252,342.77 will be added to the architect's contract for the Atwater High School pool replacement project. The superintendent recommends the board approve the amended proposal for architectural and engineering services for California Design West for the Atwater High School pool replacement project.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any further questions? Is there any way around this? That's a common question. So we've tried a couple of different methods, and in all honesty, this is the 9% rate is probably our best, most economical percentage to provide services. So previously we tried a flat rate, and those far exceeded what we ever anticipated. This is a more productive, economical method for us, and so, and also, typical architectural fees are at 12%, so we are very lucky to have a good working relationship with this firm, and 9% is not an indecent amount.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
That passes 5-0. Next, pool.
Okay, so I'm going to skip to the nitty-gritty here. The initial fees for the Merced High School pool replacement project for architectural and engineering services were based on a cost estimate of $5,266,041. The project then bid at $9,340,000. Rather than basing the billing on the actual cost, the A&E fees have been adjusted to be based on construction costs of $8 million. The amended architectural and engineering services fee for this project is based on 9% of the actual construction costs. Total additional fees of $229,640.76 will be added to the architect's contract for the Merced High School pool replacement project. The superintendent recommends the board approve the amended proposal for architectural and engineering services for the Merced High School pool replacement project.
Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? Second. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote.
Mrs. Rohrbach on the aye.
And that passes 5-0. Thank you, Melissa. At this time, Mr. Peterson, we're looking for your superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Ham. Melissa, thank you for everything you're doing right now. I know your life is overwhelmed, to say the least. We have a lot going on, and just want to say how much we appreciate you. So, our Mississippi trip. My expectations were not high. We had not done this before. I got negative feedback not to do this from community members. I got positive feedback from community members. So we just didn't know. And we have a problem, and we're trying to address that problem in a creative way. I'll tell you what, the term Southern hospitality, that is real. And when we walked into these places, all of them, you felt that. You know, we definitely got a couple looks, you know, being from California, and the occasional comment, but from the education departments themselves, it was open arms. What can we do to help you? How can you help us? Let's partner. Love that you came this far, and you know, so it really was an experience, and I think I speak for everyone. It was one of the best experiences I've had out of this district, like going to a conference, CSBA, what have you. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed talking to the Mississippi folks, enjoyed hearing their story about their state. If you have followed education and educational data the last 20 years at all, you will know that Mississippi was at the very bottom 10 to 15 years ago, and they are not at the bottom. They are moving up and toward the middle, and one thing that they did that surprised all of us is all of their teachers are required to get a reading certificate during their teacher education program. And with all of the issues that we have in this state, and in our district, in our community with reading levels, gosh, I sure hope our state takes a look at doing that. So, just very, very appreciative. Thank you to the three folks that went with me. You know, I didn't have any problems with Brett, didn't have to, you know, corral him at all, or Mr. Johnson, or Mrs. Austin. We had a great time and really, really enjoyed ourselves getting to know those folks. I just want to say, again, excellent start. You know, this is the second month in a row, and I really think people are feeling that. It's not just me, and just appreciate everyone's work. Things feel more streamlined. You know, you see that in the MTSS assistant here at El Capitan, and what Mrs. Cope said, and I think other principals would say similar things. So just want to thank everybody, and want to thank our cabinet. I'm looking at you, Mr. Johnson, because you are the initiator of the MTSS, and you provide those interventions, you provide those trainings, you provide those supports every day, and I think we're seeing it with expulsions, we're seeing it with suspensions, and so thanks to all involved.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. We'll move on to trustee communications. Mrs. Pickle, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you. First of all, congratulations on the audit findings. It's great. I know we all skipped to the back page, right, and check that out. Also want to commend Ms. Cope, Mr. Swartwood. I think they both left, but congratulations to them and to their staff on the work that they've done, the progress they've made in the area of tardies and the cell phone policy. It sounds like things are going very well, and you're having very positive results in those areas. Question on the board policies. I know at one time we talked about doing a kind of a systematic review with board policies to make sure they were updated. Were these reviews part of that process, and are we continuing down that road?
Yeah, I think that's an ongoing process.
Okay.
At least have every other month or so.
Okay, thank you. And I also want to say that I really appreciate this board, and I appreciate working with you. It's a privilege to work with you. I appreciate Mr. Peterson, you and your leadership, and moving the district in the direction that it's going. So just thank you to all of you, staff, cabinet, everybody who does the work. Mr. Johnson, it's tough, but it looks like it's paying off, and that's a great thing to see for our students and our staff, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Valdez?
As always, just want to thank the staff for what you do for the students and for everyone that can stay till the end. I know some have kids or family, whatever, but I appreciate them as well. But like I said, appreciate everything that the staff does for the students, and then that goes to everyone else. And Mr. Coleman, just want to welcome you to the board, and we're here to work together. So hopefully we have a great team and work together.
Mrs. Johnson?
Thank you, Mrs. Cook, for hosting us this evening. Great report. Love the changes you're bringing about, you and your staff. So thank you for that. As an LCAP parent, I'm very appreciative. Mr. Nicholson, I was a little disappointed. I thought you didn't have a drawl. You didn't say y'all, but I should probably say hotty toddy. I missed my my spot. Yes, hotty toddy, right? I missed. I didn't speak up after your presentation, but as an alum of both Ole Miss and Jackson State University, I'm thrilled that y'all got y'all. That you got to experience that. I think this is another instance of where our district, is thinking outside the box, because when Mr. Peterson told me where he was headed, when he was planning the trip, for a minute there, I was like, all the way to Mississippi, but I'm glad that the trip turned out to, be a good one, and, any insight that we can implement will be great. And as always, we're well into the first semester, lots of senior events coming up. It's actually very nice to see what each of the schools are doing to recognize the seniors. As a parent of a senior, this is definitely, a time when emotions bubble up. But I do want to say a great big thank you to all the teachers, administrators, certificate staff, classified staff, everybody, for everything y'all do for our students. Because there's just so much that goes on, and as we could see from the presentation, from the policies, making sure everyone upholds them, there's just a lot that goes on, day in and day out, and you guys are doing it. So thank you very much for that.
Mr. Palmer?
I guess I'm gonna just say ditto to everybody else's comments, because, you're right, we've got a great staff, we've got great leaders out there in our high schools. I do look forward to working with everyone, and I will apologize again for being tardy today. Just to let you know, I did the total, 29 consecutive years of one of my children playing water polo. And this is the last, my youngest son playing goalie tonight, so that's the reason why I was late. I just wanted to make sure that I was there for him. So after that, it was the only date, right, that was like a conflict. I thought I had it worked out. But again, I do enjoy going out to high schools and seeing athletic events, and I'm big in the water polo and swimming world, so I've been at a few games. But again, Mr. Peterson, yes, you guys are doing a great job up the DL, and I do appreciate site leadership, and they're doing a great job as well. And that's an awesome tardy policy. Glad you guys came with that, and that's great cell phone policy, so good job, kudos.
This is Sam, I apologize, Mr. Coleman. I promise you were in my notes, welcoming you to the board. And just for the public to know, Mr. Coleman was sworn in last month, so welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Aaron, I just want to say one thing before you finish it off. I just want to say thank you for the gifts from, I think, Livingston High, Sequoia, and here. Thank you all.
Yes, welcome, Mr. Coleman. We all feel, I think, very fortunate to work together. Presentations were wonderful tonight. I love hearing about different things that are happening at different campuses, that then we're learning what's successful, what's not, how to tweak, and hopefully can model those things. So yes, again, the tardy policy, the cell phone policy, those are very admirable, gutsy to implement, and hearing in particular about the solidarity from the teachers at Golden Valley is also, it's a testament to doing the right thing, and very much appreciated. I want to say thank you for putting the TV over here to the side, so we don't have to rely on our computers or get cricks in our neck from turning around. I also, 4 of us were at the MCOE awards night, and it was great to see 3 members from MUHSD be nominated, and I know everybody here is just in awe of Miss Lawson and her speech and her story, and really mega kudos to her. I would like to propose that the district offer a bonus to folks who are both nominated and then big winners. So I don't know what that would look like, but something to look into. We have exceptional staff in this district, and I think it's just another great opportunity to recognize and reward that. I love Link Crew too. Thank you for sharing that. And I really appreciated El Capitan, all of the positive ways in which you are recognizing and reinforcing students and positive behavior. So thank you for that. At this time, what time is it? 7:26. We are going to reconvene into closed session. So thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you next month.